Good morning, Kahal Kadosh. Beruchim Habayim, everybody. Shavua Tov Umevorach. Today, the second day of Elul, corresponding to the 29th of August. Today's class, graciously sponsored by Mr. Roger Baghdadi, the Elul Nishmat, his mother-in-law, Laura Bat Rivka Ganon Alea Shalom. Additionally, today's class, graciously sponsored by the Sultan family, the Elul Nishmat, their beloved father, Moshe Ben Adel Alav Shalom. Additionally, today's class graciously sponsored by Eli and Sara Levi, Ya'ilun Nishmat, her grandparents, Sara Batya and Moshe Ben Yafa Halevi, Alehem Shalom. Additionally, today's class graciously sponsored by Mrs. Hani Khan, Ya'ilun Nishmat, her mother, Mrs. Julia Khan, Esther Yehudit, Bat Haim Shelomo Be Devora. And also today's class dedicated for the Refuah Shelema of Eliyahu ben Yehudit among all of Cholim of Am Israel. Amen. As we began yesterday to learn from the holy book Tomer Devora, we were able to very quickly learn the first chapter, but not the way I really like, because we had so much to say about Rosh Chodesh Elul. So I have to give you an abridged version. So I'd like to perhaps take a few minutes before we go to chapter 2 of the holy book Tomer Devora, the way we discuss that is a suggested reading to help the person to do teshuvah and understanding of how the 13 attributes of mercy from Hashem works. So we read the first sentence that says that a person must emulate the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we explain at the end of the first chapter how one of the fundamental essence of godliness is the topic of sablanut, the topic of patience, the topic of tolerance. And we explain, hot water please, thank you. And we explain that if that aspect of godliness will not ever become activated in our life, how we will be able to live life, how we're going to be able to keep our assets, our homes, our cars, our garments, if maybe our behavior is not appropriate, and if judgment means we do good, we get good, we don't do good or we do wrong, we lose the good. So how can it be that a person goes to sleep at night and the next morning they wake up and they're sleeping in the same apartment of a year ago and they drive the same car of 6 months ago? Maybe that should be adjusted. But it says here in the holy book that out of the sablanut of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the person is able to maintain the lifestyle even though their behavior may not justify it so. But, and this is important to say, don't think for a moment that you can cheat the system and say, hey, the rabbi said that God has a lot of sablanut. I said, yeah, God has a lot of sablanut. But guess what? That comes with an expiration date. And the funny part of this is that no one knows how limited or how expensive is the patience of Hashem to the person. And at the end of the day, the way the first sentence of Tomer Devora writes, he brings here in a very interesting question. There is a pasuk in the parasha that says, Lalechet bidrachav, or Lalechet bechol derachav, to go in the footsteps of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is saying that our mission is to take that essence of godliness and to transfer it to my fellow men. In other words, the Gemara, for example, says the following statement: Kol ha-merachem ala beriyot, merachamim alav min hashamayim. Whoever has mercy and compassion on people, Hashem reciprocates that compassion. That means that if I want to get good in my life, And the good means a lot of different things. Longevity, health, happiness, harmony, peace, shalom, etc. I need to invest in that. I need to invest, meaning to say, I'm acting nice towards you, I'm acting with patience towards you, so then Hashem reciprocates that. It's the same thing that the parasha in Kitisa discusses the mitzvah of Mahasit HaShekel. The pasuk there says, Venatenu ish kofer nafsho. Venatenu, the way it's written in the Sefer, it's called, I believe, a palindrome. It's a Vav, Nun, Tav, Nun, Vav. So you can read it right to left or left to right. And the ta'am and the trop or the tune that word has is Azla Gerish. Azla Gerish. What does that mean? Basically, the Torah is telling you, when I give, I get back. And that's what Tomer Devora says. No one ever will lose for doing the right thing. And especially the way we explained yesterday, the Sefer Tomer Devora is not a book of halachot, it's a book of messages for life, it's a book of musar. And it says, one more thing before we proceed with chapter number 2. So it says the following. There are two aspects on the life of a person. Internal and external. The Gemara calls this Toho Kevaro. Toho Kevaro means your external and your internal must match. The problem that we have is that sometimes the external may be holier than the internal. And that's why the Gemara talks about this topic called Hastocho Kevaro. Toho Kevaro. Your essence internally is what you represent. The Gemara brings a story, I think, with Rabban Gamliel. And it says, Kol Talmid She'en Toho Kevaro, Al Yikanes Lebet HaMidrash. He makes the following announcement. And it says, only the true Torah yeshiva students, internally and externally, are able to come to learn. How many came to learn the next day? 0. No one came. You know what they did to him? They sent him to Florida, early retirement. Not to Florida, because I don't think Florida existed back then. Okay? They put him in the freezer, as they say in the Shidduchim world. He says, you know what? Go rest. Who they appointed? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah from the Haggadah of Pesach. And what does he say? Whoever wants to come, the doors are open. The Gemara says, so many students came to learn that there was not enough seats. They have to add benches and bleachers. So comes here Rabbi Moshe Cordovero and it says, the person's body has two aspects. The guf and the neshama. The body and the soul. Our goal in life, says, is that we need to match both of them. And I'm not saying that needs to be an exact copy, but definitely they cannot be far away from each other. It says why? Because if you're far away from each other, tzurana'a uma'asim ke'urim. It says maybe externally you look good, but internally your actions are not good. So then we're defeating the holiness of the neshama. At the end of the day, the way our Hachamim tell us that the neshama, so to speak, is the driving force of the human body. The human body is a dress to the neshama. Without the neshama, the body cannot function. And without the body, the neshama cannot live. Because the only way that the neshama lives is shamayim. Once the neshama comes down to the earth, it needs to come inside a human body. And therefore it says, Ra'ui sheidameh el haketer it says a person must emulate the kingdom, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And even though most of us will say, Rabbi, this is too demanding, this is too lofty for us. But guess what? We need to understand what is expected from us from life. And it says as follows, there is no moment in the life of the person, there is no constant flow of energy for the person to be alive. And it is true, because the moment, God forbid, that there is a short circuit in the life from Shamayim to the body of the person, what do you need to do? You call the Hebra Kadisha. God forbid, call Atzala. So God forbid. But it says that there is a constant flow of energy even when the person is not behaving or acting properly. It says, Rabino Moshe Cordovero, שסובל הקדוש ברוך הוא עלבון. God is smack in the face. Imagine yourself, you gifted somebody a baseball bat to play baseball. And then that person uses the baseball to hit you. Can you understand that? It doesn't make sense. If I give you a gift, it's for you to enjoy and not to hurt me. And that's what it says, Tomer Devora. When the person utilizes whatever God gave the person to act in ways which are not in accordance to the will of Hashem, we are smacking God in the face. It's like you ask a lady that is trying to conceive a child, do you want a coupon for diapers? She's not pregnant. Comes Rabino Moshe Cordovero, and it says, Velo tomar, don't even think that Hashem cannot suddenly freeze the fountain of life that comes to the person. Why? She'areh bekocho. Hashem, in no time, כרגע לייבש ידיו ברגליו. God forbid, God can paralyze the person instantly. Yani a person is about to do an avon, person wants to turn on the light, suddenly the hand doesn't move. God forbid. By the way, it did happen. It did happen with whom? Yerovam ben Nevat. Yerovam ben Nevat was a good guy in the beginning. Then he started to develop a couple of midot not good and turned completely against God. He was Hoteu Mahati Tarabim. After the passing of Shlomo HaMelech, he was the founding member of Malchei Israel. In his time was the splitting of the kingdom between Yehuda and Israel. So what happens? Hashem sends Yerovam a Navi by the name of Ido to go and to wake up Yerovam ben Nevat. So Yerovam ben Nevat refused to listen to the Navi, and he wanted to hit the Navi. So what happens? The moment he raised his hand to hit the Navi, the hand froze. He became paralyzed. What do you think? That a person who saw this reaction of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do teshuvah. He didn't. He didn't do teshuvah. He continued in his arrogant way. He died, his children died, his grandchildren died, and there was no memory of him in the world. He was minakaseh elakaseh. From one extreme of godliness and holiness to an extreme of anti-godliness, including avodah zarah, including idolatry and many matters. Now, message number 2. Now we're going to digest or dissect this message because we don't have the pressure of yesterday, Rosh Chodesh. And it says, The second message is, לא יעשה אדם עוון שלא יברא משחית. A person needs to know, I'm sorry for the Wi-Fi situation, the person needs to know that every action creates a reaction. That's it. You drink, you're hydrated. You don't drink, you're dehydrated. That's it. Every action has a reaction. But it says that when it comes to Averot, we also create a mashhit. Mashhit in English means a negative creation, a power of darkness. Like good deeds bring good things, sins bring darkness. That's why Kedusha is holiness and Tum'ah is Sitra Hara, the other side. And actually is a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, a person that does an avon, what are we doing? Conelo category had. Now I created an accusing angel. Why it's called this angel an accusing angel? Because this malach is created by my sin. So this malach is my child. You follow? So now it says prosecuting angel. So he comes, it says, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, אותו קטגור עומד לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא ואומר, פלוני עשאני. This angel wants to check in with God. And God says, who are you? He says, I was created by Yosef. Ah, you were created by Yosef? ובמה יתקיים? If everything that God does is good, and nothing can exist in the world if it doesn't have a godly element. In other words, this chair is a chair as long that godliness is invested in the chair. The moment that the chair breaks and you get rid of it, it means that God says to the chair, thank you for your services, I'm leaving you. That's the peshat. So it says, Hadin noten, theory should dictate, שיאמר הקדוש ברוך הוא, that God should say, אינני זן משחיתים. Why should I support you, God says? You come to me for life. Why should I give you life? You are a product of a sin. תלך אצל מי שעשאתך ויתפרנס ממנו. Don't come to me. Go to the one that made you. And he will feed you. But it doesn't happen. Because the moment that that will happen, say Kaddish to your life. Your life comes to an end. Because now you're going to be constantly attacked and bothered by the negative forces of sin. And therefore, הרי המשחית יורד מיד ונוטל נשמתו. This negative angel comes into your life, that's literally what it means, and brings poverty to the person and affects the person with suffering, ונוטל נשמתו, and takes away the soul. What does it mean, takes away the soul? The person lives a miserable type of life. This statement is heavy because this could be an answer to many questions that sometimes we may have in life. Why I do things and I still don't see the light. Maybe this is part of the reason. Now, but look what it says. This is the theory. But אין הקדוש ברוך הוא עושה כן. Thank God, it says, that that's not the way that God manages the world. אלא נושא בסובל העוון. God says to this negative angel, who made you? Yosef made you? Okay, stay there, I'll take care of you. And God keeps this negative force happy to protect the life of the person. And that soul, that sin, so to speak, lingers till the moment that the person does teshuvah. And once the person does teshuvah, that creation is given a new identity. No longer is called the forces of evil or darkness, but now he becomes a Synagogue. He becomes an advocate on behalf of the person. Kategor na'asa Synagogue. The prosecuting angel now became your defending angel through the power of Teshuvah.
So you are in essence your worst adversary.
Your worst enemy. Yes, sure. There is no bigger enemy than the person themselves, like fear. So it says, how long does God feed this dark creation? I mean, you pay maintenance, okay? How long do you pay maintenance? Maybe sometimes it's better to get rid of it. Sell the unit. So it says, three things could happen. Number one, sheyashuva chotev tshuva. The person does teshuvah, and the person does teshuvah out of love, not out of fear, not because the person is suffering. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do teshuvah. The person does teshuvah out of their own initiative, and here it says, you exterminate the mashchit, bibatelehu besigufav, or it says, the person goes through hardship in life, and hardships and pain and suffering, they cleanse the soul of the person, or yebatelehu shofet tzedek beisurim ubemita, or God forbid the sinner goes through so many difficulties in life, or one more, yelech bagehinam. After 120, the person gets a pass to Gehinam, Besham Yafra Hobo, and you pay your bill in Gehinam. Once a person reaches Gehinam, you're going to pay the bill. So you know what Rabbi Moshe Cordovero says? Don't wait till that day. He says, it's in our best interest to start enhancing and improving our spiritual life now, when you're happy and healthy and good, and don't wait till God is putting a rope around your neck.
But now,
God forbid.
Now be'ahava, he moved.
Be'ahava. And therefore it says, Haynu she'amar Cain, Cain, the brother of Hevel, said in Bereshit, Gadol avonim ineso. It says, my sin is too great to carry. In other words, Cain says to God, God, is there teshuvah for me? ופירשו רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, גמרא סנהדרין, כל העולם כולו אתה סובל. It says, Cain to God, God, you carry the liability of the world. Irse, zano mefarnes, and you give the livelihood, and my sin is so great, there is no teshuvah. God says to Cain, yes, I will allow you to live, and then you will see your tikkun. In Ken, hare midat sablanut gedola. Now we go even further. Yesterday we discussed the tolerance of Hashem towards the person that sins. Now we discuss the tolerance of God to control the negative force of darkness created by me So I'm able to continue living a good and a happy life. ילמד האדם מזה כמה צריך להיות סבלן. One more he repeats, learn from this how relevant is of being tolerant and being patient. יסבול עוול חברו ברעותיו שהריע. It says, even when your friend doesn't behave good, okay, still the way God does to us, but יסבול and deal with it. Be tolerant. עד שיתקן חברו, until your friend does תשובה, או עד שיבטל מאליו, or until the matter will dissipate and will disappear. This is the end of chapter 2. Very deep. Everything that we said today was much deeper than yesterday. But the more we understand, because at the end of the day, a life of a Yehudi is not simple. When I say it's not simple, I don't mean, God forbid, that it's complicated. But what I'm trying to say is that our life is not only our physical life, it's also our spiritual life, it's also our actions that bring the reaction. The way the Ben Ish Hai writes in Perasha Kitetze, and it says, every action, it brings a reaction. If it's a good one or a better one, in physical matters or spiritual matters. Tizke lamizvot to all of the generous sponsors of today's class. We'll see about Yizat Hashem Beli Nedra a bit later. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Shavua tov u'mevorach. Chodesh tov v'siman tov. Eliyahu el-Navi zachur le'tov.